In the dark shadows, in the white cold, fearlessly we search for knowledge new and old. We drink the strong spirits and read the ancient tomes. The order of the Abracast. We are the brave and the bold.
Introitus, our Lord, the font of goodness, inspirer of the sacred art, from whom all good things come, to your faithful have mercy. Christ, the Holy One, blessed stone of the art of the science, who for the salvation of the world hast inspired the light of the science. For the extirpation of the unbelievers have mercy. Kyrie, O Lord, divine fire, help our hearts that we may be able to your praise, to expand the sacraments of the art. Have mercy. Grandulae, he descends like rain upon the fleece, and as showers falling gently upon the earth. Hallelujah, O blessed creator of the earth, whiter than snow, sweeter than sweetness, fragrant at the bottom of the vessel like balsam. O salutary medicine for men that cureth every weakness of the body. O sublime fount whence gushes forth truly the true water of life into the garden of thy faithful. Ave Maria, hail, beautiful lamp of heaven, shining light of the world. Here art thou united with the moon. Here is made the band of Mars and the conjunction of Mercury. From these three is born through the majesty of the art. In the riverbed, the strong giant whom 1,000 times 1,000 seek. When these three shall have dissolved, not into rainwater, but into mercurial water, into this our blessed gum, which dissolves of itself in his name of the sperm of the philosophers. Now he makes haste to bind and betroth himself to this virgin bride, and to get her with child in the bath over a moderate fire. But the virgin will not become pregnant at once unless she be kissed in repeated embraces. Then she conceives in her body, and thus is begotten the child of good omen, in accordance with the order of nature. Then will appear in the bottom of the vessel of the mighty Ethiopian, burnt, calcinated, discolored, altogether dead and lifeless. He asked to be buried, to be sprinkled with his own moisture and slowly calcinated till he shall rise in a glowing form from the fierce fire, and behold the wondrous restoration and renewal of the Ethiopian. Because of the bath of the rebirth, he takes a new name, which the philosophers call the natural sulfur and their sun. And being the stone of the philosophers, and behold, it is one thing, one root, one essence, with nothing extraneous added, from which much was the superfluous is taken away by the majesty of the fire. It is the treasure of treasures, the supreme philosophical potion, the divine secrets of the ancients. Blessed is he who finds such a thing. One that has seen this thing writes and speaks openly, and I know that his testimony is true. Praise be to God forevermore. An Alchemical Mass.
The Abracast. Occult, history, conspiracy, and violence.
Welcome, everybody. We're recording here in my studio, just like always. I'm John Towers, and this is the Abercast. So I'm going to take a second to talk probably a little bit more than normal, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see what happens. So I've been, I've hinted around, and I've mentioned it on the show before, and kind of on social media or whatever. But I'm fighting kind of like a bout of depression. This isn't new for me. I've been diagnosed as clinically depressed before. These kind of things, actually, some things a lot worse run in either sides of my family. I've been feeling real low, and I know that I'm not the only one, and I know that I could be doing more to helping out folks, out there. So I don't have a plan. I don't have a plan, but if there's anything that I could do to anybody who's feeling low, believe me, I get it, and I will do everything that I can to help any of you guys out there. With that being said, I just had like a mass exodus from Patreon, just in a row, a bunch of my Patreon people left, and that's not why I'm depressed. I'm just mentioning it. I know it's fine. I don't mind that people leave me. That's not really the point of this whole thing. I'm trying to talk about depression. I know my shortcoming. I know my barbs, right? I know that I can come off as cranky and arrogant and pompous. I know I really know. I know very deeply that I can come off obnoxiously, and maybe it has nothing to do with that. I know also that I'm very passionate about the politics in the election, and when I talk about these kind of things, I try to couch them in like conspiracy or history kind of things, or philosophy sort of things. So it's not just me out here railing. I'm not a talk show. I'm not like a Fox News talk show host. Who cares about what I have to say about it? That's why I go to these different books and stuff. Anyhow, it might not even have anything to do with all of that, any of that stuff, how obnoxious I am or whatever, or how arrogant I am or whatever, or how loud I'm shooting my mouth off against politics or whatever. I try to keep the Sunday show, which is the only show that I owe anybody, free of that stuff. Anyhow, it might not have anything to do with that, these kind of things. Times are hard out there. Maybe it became too much of a crunch in the wall. Anyhow, this is not why I'm depressed, but I was in a real low place last night, and I'm driving my wife crazy with all my moping around and fucking weeping and all this stuff, and God, I'm sorry about that. I had a real rough night last night, and I was not looking forward to recording this episode. I mean, I have never, as far as I can recall, missed recording an episode, and usually I love plugging in, hitting the big red button, and talking shit, right? I love it, but I wasn't feeling it. Today. I felt like just whatever. Like I'm going, not to whip it. I'm fucking depressed, man. So just out of the blue, I got an email from a listener. I'm not gonna get all into this, but the way that I posted it on Instagram, so I'm not going to get into it, but if you want to read it, I posted it on Instagram, and the way that I chose to take the message of this email that I got from this guy was that the universe, or Adonai, the ages upon the ages, amen. Or, whatever represents Satan, or the universe, or the world, or Gaia, or, when we talk about these things, whatever the hell it is that we're talking about, just kind of winked at me. It was just kind of like, hey, bro, I got my eye on you, and we're gonna be okay. Okay, it's just this one listener's email kind of reverberated some of the kind of shit that I've been dealing with and fucking around with. So for that gentleman, I don't want to dox him for sure. I took his name out of his email and all of that stuff, but you're out there, sir, and you know who you are, and I just want to say thank you, for helping me. Because after I got done, after I got done dealing with the email, I typed out a modest response to the guy, and when I was done, I felt charged. I was like, man, I can't wait to press the red button and fucking talk about alchemy tonight. So, god damn it, that's what we're gonna do. Just had to kind of get through all of that stuff. I did the first one episode week in recent memory was last week. Is just because I just didn't feel like doing anything. So I feel better now. I got the medicine from the doctor here, and let's get into this. We're gonna be continuing the Mirror of Alchemy. It was composed by the famous Friar Roger Bacon. We did part 1 last month, so we're going to do part 2 this month. And to fill out the episode after the break, we're going to be doing this other alchemical thing that I found called the Six Keys Eudoxus. The Six Keys of Eudoxus. So let's get into it here. Where are we at? Chapter 6, on the accidental and essential colors appearing to the work. You guys know I get wound up when we talk about the colors of the magnum opus of alchemy. It always reminds me of that Tool song. I'm sure you heard enough of that shit from me. The matter of the stone thus ended, you shall know the certain manner of working, by what manner and regiment the stone is often changed in decoction into diverse colors, whereupon one say so many colors, so many names, according to the diverse color appearing through the works, and the names likewise are varied by philosophers. Whereon in the first operation of our stone, it is called putrefaction. Our stone is made black, whereof one says, when you find it black, you know that whiteness is hidden. You must extract the same from the most subtle blackness. After the putrefaction, it waxes red, not with the true redness of which one says it is often red and often citrine in color, and often melts and is often coagulated before true whiteness, and it dissolves itself and coagulates itself and putrefies itself and colors itself and mortifies itself and quickens itself and makes itself black and makes itself white and makes itself red and also green, whereupon another says. It just is like this, goes around and around and around. Concoct it till it appears green unto you. That is the soul. Know another, know that in that green the soul bears dominion. Appears also before whiteness and the peacocks of color, whereupon one says thus, know you that all colors in the world are, you may be imagined, appear before whiteness, and afterwards true whiteness follows. Whereof one says, when it has been decocted pure and clean, and it shines like the eyes of fishes, then we are to expect this utility. By this time the stone is congealed round. And another says, when you find whiteness atop in the glass, be assured that in that whiteness redness is hidden. You must extract and concoct it while it becomes all red, for between true whiteness and true redness there is a certain ash color, of which it is said, after whiteness you cannot err. For increasing the fire you shall come to an ash color, of which another says, do not set light by the ashes, for God shall give it to you molten. And then at last the king is invested with a red crown by the will of God. So I got a new T-shirt. I got a new graphic. What I'm doing, it's this symbol for this alchemical process that they're talking about here. If you want to check it out, go to the Advertise.com. Go to the store section in T-shirts. It should be up there. If it's not up there now, it'll be up there real fucking soon. While you're there, go to the feature topic link and check out all of the alchemical episodes that we've done. Chapter 7. How to make projection of the medicine upon any imperfect body. I've largely accomplished my promise of that great mastery for making the most excellent elixir red and white. For conclusion, red and white. The red eagle, the white lion, the red eagle. Check out my tarot cards too, by the way. We are to treat of the manner of projection, which is the accomplishment of the work, the desired, the expected joy. The red elixir turns into a citrine color indefinitely and changes all metal into pure gold. And the white elixir does infinitely whiten and bring every metal to perfect whiteness, but we know that one metal is farthest off from perfection than another, one more near than another. And although every metal may by elixir be reduced to perfection, nevertheless the nearest are more easily, speedily, and perfectly reduced than those which are far distant. And when we meet with the metal that is near to perfection, we are thereby exhausted. We are thereby excused from many that are far off. And as for the metals, which of them be near and which be far, which of them, I say, be nearest to perfection, if you are wise and discreet, you shall find to be plainly and truly set out in my chapters, and without a doubt, he that is so quick-sighted in this, my mirror, that by his own industry he can find out the true matter, he does full well know upon what body the medicine is to be projected, to bring it to perfection. For the forerunners of this art, who have found it out by their philosophy, do point out with their finger the direct and plain way, and then say nature contains nature, and nature overcomes nature, and nature meeting with her nature exceedingly rejoices, and is changed into other natures, and in another place. Every like rejoices in his like, for likeness is said to be the cause of friendship, whereof many philosophers have left a notable secret. Know you that the sour does quickly enter his body, which may by no means be joined to another body in another place. The soul does quickly enter into his own body, of which you go about to join with another body. You shall lose your labor, for the nearness itself is more clear, and because corporeal things in this regimen are made incorporeal, and contrawise things incorporeal corporeal. And in the shutting up of the work, the whole body is made into a spiritual fixed thing, because also that spiritual elixir evidently, whether white or red, is so greatly prepared and decocted beyond its nature. It is no marvel that it cannot be mixed with the body on which it is projected, being only melted. And is also a hard matter to project it into thousands and thousands more. and incontinently to penetrate and transmute them. I will therefore now deliver unto you a great and hidden secret. One part is to be mixed with 1,000 of the next body, and let all this be surely put into a fit vessel, and set it in a furnace of fixation, first with a lent fire, and then afterwards increasing the fire for 3 days, until they be inseparably joined together. And this is a work for 3 days. Then again, and finally, every part hereof by itself must be projected upon another 1,000 parts of any near body. And this is a work of 1 day, of 1 hour, or a moment, of which our wonderful God is eternally to be praised. Here ends the Mirror of Alchemy, composed by the most learned philosopher, Roger Bacon.
Learn more at abracast.com. Get bonus content by signing up for the mailing list. Get all that, plus many exclusive episodes by supporting the show at patreon.com or subscribestar.com.
Hi everyone, I'm Jess, and I host the podcast Shoes, Booze, and Tattoos. I like to discuss a little bit of everything that's weird or unusual, from hauntings and folklore to true crime and history. I'm not only a podcaster, but I'm also a practicing witch, so I've made sure to dedicate a few episodes to the subject and dispel some of the common misconceptions about the craft. So if this sounds like your cup of tea, you can find Shoes, Booze, and Tattoos anywhere you get podcasts. And remember that booze is spelled B-O-O-S. I hope to see you all soon. Bye.
All right. So I have to warn you, I'm not 100% sure I'm pronouncing this word correctly. The Six Keys of Eudoxus. It sounds like a fucking heavy metal album, right? The Six, or maybe a band. Hi, I'm John Towers from the Six Keys of Eudoxus, and you're listening to the Abracast. Hello, Cleveland. Often imitated and never duplicated. WMMS. The Six Keys of Eudoxus. The first key. The first key is that which opens the dark prisons in which the sulfur is shut up. That is it which knows how to extract the seed out of the body, and which forms the stone of the philosophers by the conjunction of the spirit with the body of the sulfur with Mercury. Hermes has manifestly demonstrated the operation of this first key by these words. In the caverns of the metals there is hidden the stone, which is venerable, bright in color, a mind sublime, an open sea. The stone has a bright glittering. It contains a spirit of the sublime original. It is the sea of the wise, in which they angle for their mysterious fish. But the operations of the three works have a great deal of analogy to one another. And the philosophers do decidedly speak in equivocal terms, to the end that those who have not the lynx's eyes may pursue wrong, and be lost in the labyrinth from whence it is very hard to get out. In effect, even one imagines that they speak of one work, and they often treat of another. 5. Take heed, therefore, not to be deceived here. For it is a truth that in each work the wise artist ought to be dissolved by the body with the spirit. He must cut off the raven's head and whiten the black to vivify the whiter. Yet it is properly in the first operation that the wise artist cuts off the head of the black dragon and of the raven. 6. Hence, Hermes says, what is born of the crow in the beginning of this art, consider that it is by the separation of the black, foul, and stinking fume of the blackest black that our ancestral white is resplendent stone is formed, which contains in its veins the blood of the pelican. It is at this first purification of the stone, and at the shining whiteness and the work of the first key is ended. Let's moveth now to the second key. The second key dissolves the compound of the stone and begins the separation of the elements. In the philosophical manner, the separation of the elements is not made but by rising up the subtle and the pure parts above the thick and terrestrial parts. 2. He who knows how to sublime the stone philosophically justly deserves the name of a philosopher, since he knows the fire of the wise, which is only the instrument which can work this sublimation. No philosopher has ever openly revealed this secret fire and this powerful agent which works all the wonders of the art. He who shall not understand it and not know how to distinguish it by the characters whereby he described ought to make a stand here and pray to God to make it clear to him. For the knowledge of this great secret is rather a gift of the heavens than a light acquired by a natural force of reasoning. Let him, nevertheless, read the writings of the philosophers. Let him meditate, and above all, let him pray. There is no difficulty which may not in the end be made clear by the work of meditation and prayer. 3. Without the sublimation of the stone, the conversion of the elements and the extraction of the principles is impossible. In this conversion which makes water of earth, air of water, and fire of air is the only way whereby our mercury can be prepared. Again, this reminds me of this new alchemical t-shirt that I'm talking about. Check it out. Apply yourself then to know this secret fire which dissolves the stone naturally and without violence, and make it dissolve into water, this great sea of the wise, by the distillation which is made by the rays of the sun and the moon. Also check out my tarot cards. The sun and the moon are two of my favorites. Actually, if you're talking about my tarot cards, it would go the moon and then the sun, for obvious reasons. Part 5. Number 5. It is the manner of the stone which, according to Hermes, is the vine of the wine. It becomes their wine which, by the operations of the art, produces their rectified water of life and their most sharp vinegar. The elements of the stone cannot be dissolved by this nature, wholly divine, nor can a perfected dissolution be made of it. But after a proportioned digestion and putrefaction, at which the operation of the second key of the first work is ended. We moveth now to the third key. And the third key comprehends of itself alone the longer train of operations than all the rest together. The philosophers have spoken very little of it, seeing the perfection of our mercury depends thereon. The sincerest, even as Artphius, Trivistan, Flamel, have passed in silence the preparation of our mercury. There is hardly one found who has not feigned, instead of a slowing of the longest and the most important of the operations of our practice, with a design to lend you a hand in this part of the way which you have to go, and where you want of light. It is impossible to know the true road. I will enlarge myself more than others have done for this third key. For at least I will follow in an order in which they have treated so confusedly, and without the inspiration of heaven, or without the help of the faithful friend, one remains undoubtedly in this labyrinth, without being able to find a happy deliverance from thence. Third key, part 2. I am sure that you, who are the true son of science, will receive a very great satisfaction in the explaining of these hidden mysteries which regard the separation and the putrefaction of the principles of our Mercury, which is made by a perfect dissolution and glorification of the body whence it had its nativity, by the intimate union of the soul with its body, of whom the spirit is the only tie which works in this conjunction. Number 3. This is the intention of the essential point of the operations of this key, which terminate at the generation of a new substance infinitely nobler than the first. He seems a little confident, doesn't he? Number 4. After the wise artist has made a spring of living water come out of a stone, and has pressed out the vine of the philosophers, and has made their wine, you ought to take notice that in this homogeneous substance which appears under the form of water, there are 3 different substances, 3 natural principles of body: salt, sulfur, and mercury, which are the spirit, the soul, and the body. Wow, this goes right back to some of those older Western philosophy episodes, right? This is Epictetus kind of stuff. And although they appear pure and perfectly united together, there still wants much of their being so. For when the distillation we draw the water, which is the soul and the spirit, and the body remains at the bottom of the vessel, like a dead, black, dredgy earth, which nevertheless is not to be despised, for in our subject there is nothing which is not good. I think there's a life lesson in there. And hold on, I gotta asterisk this. Part 5. Third key, part 5. The philosopher John Pontius protests that the very superfluities of the stone are converted into a true essence, and that he who pretends to separate anything from our subject knows nothing of philosophy. For that all which therein superfluous, unclean, dredgy, and fine, the whole compound is made perfect by the action of our fire. Part 6. The advice opens the eyes of those who, to make an exact purification of the elements and the principles, persuade themselves that they must only take the subtle and cast away the heavy. But Hermes says the power of it is not integral until it is turned into earth. Neither ought the sons of science to be ignorant that the fire of the sulfur are hidden in the center of the earth. They must wash it exact with its spirits to extract out of it the fixed salt, which is the blood of our stone. The essential mystery of the operation, which is not accomplished till after the convenient digestion and the slow distillation. This sounds like the Scarlac pit. There you will be digested in his... I can't remember. Seven. You know that nothing is more contrary than fire and water, yet the wise artist must make peace between these enemies who radically love each other vehemently. Cosmopolite told the manner thereof in a few words. All things must therefore, being purged, make fire and water to be friends. This is the unification of opposites. This is at the heart of our quest. The as above and so below. That was me editorializing. Back to it. Which they will easily do in their earth, which they had ascended with them. Be then attentive to this point, moisten oftentimes the earth with its water, and you will obtain what you seek. Must not the body be dissolved by the water, and the earth be penetrated with its humidity, to be made proper for generation? According to philosophers, the spirit is Eve and the body is Adam. This is the Lover's card, by the way. Not to get too wrapped up in trying to draw attention to my tarot cards, but it's all right. It's all right there. They ought to, I lost my spot. They ought to be joined together for the propagation of their species. Hermes says the same in other terms. For water is the strongest nature which surmounts and excites the fixed nature in the body that is, rejoices in it. 8. The effect of these two substances, which are the same nature but of different genders, ascend insensibly together, leaving but a little feces in the bottom of their vessel. So that the soul, spirit, and body, after an exact purification, appear at least inseparably united under a more noble and more perfect form than it was before, and as different from its first liquid form as the alcohol of wine, exactly rectified and actuated with the salt in its different form of the substance of the wine from whence it has been drawn. The comparison is not only very fitting, but furthermore gives the sons of science a precise knowledge of the operation of the third key. 9. Our water is a living spring which comes out of the stone by a natural miracle of our philosophy. The first of all is the water which issueth out of the stone. It is Hermes who has pronounced this great truth. He acknowledges further that this water is the foundation of our art. The Philosopher's Stone give it many names. For example, they call it the wine, sometimes water of life, sometimes vinegar, sometimes oil, and according to different degrees of preparation, or according to the diverse effects which it is capable of producing. Yet I let you know that it is properly called the vinegar of the wise, and that this is the distillation of the divine liquor. There happens the same thing as the common vinegar. You may hence draw instructions. The water and the phlegm first ascend. The oily substance is which the efficacy of the water consists comes the last. So I'm just going to take a second. This is going to be a long episode anyways, so I just come to that realization. 2 things that I want to talk about really quick is in my series of comic books and graphic novels, specifically the ages. I hard hint. It's like a hard dick hint that Adam and Eve, when they get in trouble in the Garden of Eden, there, it's not an apple. It's not sex. They actually get in trouble for distillation. They get in trouble for expanding their mind with the distillation of fruits. So basically, it's they get drunk, This is the same thing that we see after Noah. Noah, after the cataclysm, he becomes a husbandman. I think it's called. He starts making wine and gets hammered. It's like after these catastrophic things to the natural order of the universe. It's like the first thing that the survivors have to do is just, they're like, man, this whole 7-day creation thing, woof. Let's have a drink. So there's that. And the last thing is we're talking an awful lot about vinegar. And our garden has gone crazy. I had to learn how to make pickles and to jar pickles. So I wasn't throwing cucumbers away all the time. I have so many pickles, bro. And they're so good. I actually put my pickle recipe by demand. I'm not going to say popular demand, but by demand, I put my pickle recipe in the last newsletter. You can sign in the newsletter, get the link to the section and go. It's not very specific. I basically just scanned in my notebook. I took a picture of my notebook, and the way that I cook is like a dash of this, a pinch of that. Like, I don't get into actual units of measurement, so good luck. But the fucking pickles are amazing. I actually owe a few of you pickles. So if you're listening to this, they're coming, man. They're coming. Part 12. Is it therefore necessary to dissolve the body entirely to extract all its humidity, which contains the precious ferment, the sulfur, the balm of nature, the wonderful unguent, without which you ought not to hope ever to see in your vessel this blackness so desired by all the philosophers? Reduce then the whole compound into water and make a perfect union. The volatile with the fixed. It is a preceptor of seniors which derives attention. That is the highest. Fume should be reduced to the lowest, as when you're making pickle. No, I'm just kidding. For the divine water is the thing descending from heaven, the reducer of the soul to its body, which at length revives. 13. The balm of life is hidden in this unclean feces. You ought to wash them with the celestial water until you have removed away the blackness from them. And then your water shall be animated with this fiery essence which works all the wonders of our art. 14. But further, that you may not be deceived with the terms of the compound, I will tell you the philosophers have two sorts of compounds. The first is the compound of nature, whereof I've spoken in the first key, for its nature makes it a manner incomprehensible to the artist, who does nothing but lend a hand to nature by the adhibition of external things, by the means of which she brings forth and produces the admirable compound. The second is the compound of the art. It is the wise man who makes it by secret union of the fixed and the volatile, perfectly conjoined with all prudence, which cannot be acquired by the lights of a profound philosophy. This is how I feel when I'm making pickles, too. The compound of the art is altogether the same in the second as in the third work, yet it is always the artist who makes it. Geber defines it as a mixture of argent, vive, and sulfur. That is to say, it is the volatile and the fixed, which reminds me about this t-shirt I'm pushing. Even if you don't want it the t-shirt, check out the graphic, because it's really cool. I designed it specifically to be about this alchemical process that we've been talking about in these alchemy. I didn't design it to fit the alchemical process that we're talking about. I chose the one that I thought fit the best. Okay. Acting, but I did it. I drew it. I wrote it. I did it all. Which, which acting on one another are volatilized and fixed reciprocally into a perfect fixity. Consider the example of nature when you see the earth will never produce fruit if it is not penetrated with, I love this, penetrated with its humidity. And that the humidity would always remain barren if it were not retained and fixed by the dryness of the earth. 17. So in the art, you can have no success if you do not have the first work purify the serpent born of the slime of the earth. If you do not whiten these foul and black feces to separate from thence the white sulfur, which is the sal ammoniac of the wise, and the chaste Diana who washes herself in the bath, and all the mystery, but the extraction of the fixed salt of our compound, in which the whole energy of mercury consists. 18. The water which ascends by the distillation carries up the part of its fiery salt, so that the effusion of the water of the body, reiterated many times, impregnates, fattens, fertilizes our mercury, and makes it fit to be fixed. Which is the end of the second work. 19. One cannot better explain this truth than by Hermes in these words. When I saw the water by degrees did become thicker and harder, I did rejoice, for I certainly knew that I should find what I sought for. It is not without reason that the philosopher's stone and this viscous liquor, the name of pontic water, is exuberant ponticity, is indeed the true character of its virtue. And the more you shall rectify it, the more shall work upon it. The more virtue will it acquire, and it has been called the water of life, because it gives life to the metals, but it properly called the great lunaria, because of its brightness wherewith it shines. 20. Since I speak only to you, ye scholars of Hermes, I will reveal to you one secret which you will not find entirely in the book of the philosophers. Some of them say that the liquor, they make two mercuries, one white and the other red. Flamel has said more particularly that one must make use of the citrine mercury to make the imbibation of the red, giving notice to the sons of art not to be deceived on this point, as he himself has been, unless the Jew had informed him of the truth. Hey, disclaimer, I did not write this. This seems like it's a little bit of a derogatory statement. However, I could be wrong. Could just be very informally referring to his good friend as the Jew. Others have taught that the white mercury is the bath of the moon and that the red mercury is the bath of the sun, but there are none who have been willing to show distinctly to the sons of science by what means they may get these two mercuries. If you apprehend me well, you have the point already cleared up to you. The luminaria is the white mercury, the most sharp vinegar, and the red mercury, the luminaria is the white mercury. The most sharp vinegar is the red mercury. That's like that apple cider vinegar that the fucking hippies drink. But the better to determine these two mercuries, feed them with the flesh of their own species, the blood of innocents whose throats are cut. That is to say, the spirits of the bodies are the baths where the sun and the moon go to wash themselves. 23. I've unfolded to you a great mystery if you reflect well on it. The philosophers who have spoken thereof has passed over this important point very slightly. Cosmopolite has very wittingly mentioned by an ingenious allegory, speaking of the purification of the mercury. This will be done, he says, if you shall give your old man gold and silver to swallow, that he may consume them, and at length he also, dying, may be burnt. Oh, wow. And he makes an end of the describing of the whole magistery in these terms. Let his ashes be strewn into the water and boil it until it is enough, and you have a medicine to cure leprosy. You must not be ignorant that our old man is our Mercury. This name indeed agrees with him because he is the first matter of all metals. He is their water. As the same author goes on to say, and to which he gives also a name of steel and of lodestone, adding for the greater confirmation of what I am about to discover to you, that if gold couples with it 11 times and sends its seed and is debilitated almost unto death, but the Calabias conceives and begets a son more glorious than its father. 24. Behold, a great mystery which I reveal to you upon an enigma. This is the secret of the two Mercuries, which contain the two tinctures. Colors. Keep them separately. Do not confound their species, for fear that they should beget a monstrous lineage. 25. I do not speak only more intelligently. Okay. 25. I not only speak to you more intelligibly than any other philosopher before has done, but I also reveal to you the most essential point in the practice. If you meditate thereon and apply yourself to understand it well, but above all, if you work according to those lights which I give you, you may attain what you seek for. 26. And if you come not to these knowledges by ways which I have pointed out to you, I am very well assured that you will hardly arrive at your design by only reading these philosophers. Therefore, despair of nothing. Search of the source of the liquor of the sages, which contain all that is necessary for the work. It is hidden under the stone. Strike upon it with the red magic fire, and clear fountain will issue out. Then do as I have shown you, and prepare the bath of the king with the blood of the innocents, and you will have the animated mercury of the wise, which never loses its virtue, if you keep it in a vessel well closed. And Hermes, 27, Hermes says that there is so much sympathy between the purified bodies of the spirits that they will never quit one another when they are united together, because this union resembles that of the soul with the glorified body, which faith tells us there shall be no more separation or death, because the spirits desire to be cleansed bodies, and having them they enliven and dwell in them. 28. By this you may observe the merit of your precious liquor. To which the philosophers have given more than 1,000 different names, which is the sum of the great alkahest, which radically dissolves the metals, the true permanent water, which having radically dissolved them, is inseparably united to them, increasing their weight and their tincture. The fourth key. The fourth key of the art is the entrance to the second work. It is this which reduces our water to earth. There is but this only water in the world which by bare boiling can be converted into earth, because the mercury of the wise carries in its center its own sulfur, which coagulates it. The terrification of the spirit, which is the only operation of this work. Boil them with patience. If you have proceeded well, You will not be long term without perceiving the marks of this coagulation. And if they appear not in their time, they will never appear, because it is an undoubted sign that you have failed in some essential thing in the former operations to corpify the spirit. To make the spirit corporeal, to corpify the spirit, which is our Mercury, you must have well dissolved the body in which the spirit which coagulates the Mercury is enclosed. But Hermes assumes that our mercurial waters shall obtain all the virtues which the philosophers attributed to it to be turned to earth. The earth, admirable is it for fertility. Admirable is it for fertility. The land of promise of the wise, who knowing how to make the dew of heaven fall upon it, cause it to produce fruits of estimable price, cultivate and diligently this precious earth, moisten it often with its own humidity and dry it often. You will no less augment its virtue than its weight in its fertility. The fifth key. This reads like, in my mind, it reads like remember Penthouse Forum? I'm a little older than you guys, I think. But there used to be this dirty magazine. So there's Penthouse. Everybody, I think, knows Penthouse. Before Pornhub, ladies and gentlemen, have a seat and let me tell you the times before Pornhub. So there was a digest size thing, and what they would do is they would just take all of the Penthouse letters that didn't make the cut, and they would turn it into this other digest size magazine. It was called I think it was called Penthouse Variations or something. But whenever you watch an old movie or something and it starts off with I would never believe this would happen to me, and I was hanging out with my girlfriend and the pizza guy showed up, and my girlfriend was like, hey, I'm kind of into the pizza guy, and next thing you know, they're all purple helmeted throbbing love warriors and all this other kind of schlock. Anyhow, I read the fourth key of this thing, and I'm like, Penthouse Variations called. They want their gimmick back. I don't know. It might just be me. No, Penthouse Forums. It was definitely Penthouse Forum. There must have been another one called Variations. Oh, I think Variations was all the weird kinky stuff. That's what I think. Yeah. I mean, fact checking. I don't know. I haven't thought about this shit in years. I don't know why it's popping up in my brain now. Dr. Freud's calling. The fifth key. Back to this thing. I'm sorry. The fifth key. The fifth key includes fermentation of the stone with the perfect body, to make thereof the medicine of the third order. I will say nothing in particular of the operation of the third work, except that the perfect body is necessary leaven of our paste. These are cooking terms. I don't exactly know how to parse this. The spirit ought to make union. Well, I understand that. The spirit ought to make union of the paste with the leaven in the same manner as water moistens the meal. It dissolves the leaven to compose a fermented paste fit to make bread. You got a bun in the oven? You hear what I'm saying? This comparison is very proper. Hermes first made it, saying that as a paste cannot be fermented without a ferment, so when you shall have sublimed, cleansed, separated the foulness, here we go again, of the feces, and you will make a conjunction, put the ferment to them, and make the water, the earth, and the paste may be made into ferment, which repeats the instruction, insert, thrust, repeat. to make the water from the earth a paste may be made a ferment, which repeats the instruction of the whole work, and shows that just so as the whole lump of the paste becomes leaven, the action of the ferment, which has been added, so all the philosophic confection becomes, by this operation, a leaven proper to ferment a new matter, and to multiply it to infinity. If you observe well how bread is made, it sounds like he's cooking this bread by fucking it. To me, find the proportions always, or also, you ought to keep among the matters which compose our philosophical paste. The bakers put more meal than leaven, and the more water than leaven than the meal. The laws of nature are the rules you ought to follow in the practice of our magistry. I have given you, upon the principal point of this instruction, which are necessary for you, so that it would be superfluous to tell you more of it, particularly concerning the last operations, about which the adepts have been less reserved than the first, which are the foundations of the art. Here we go, we get a little bit more. The sixth key. The sixth key teaches multiplication of the stone by the reiteration of the same operation, which consists of opening and shutting, dissolving, coagulating, imbibing, and drying, whereby the virtues of the stone are infinitely arguable. As my design has been not to describe entirely the application of the three medicines, but only to instruct you in more important operations concerning the preparation of mercury, which the philosophers commonly pass over in silence to hide the mysteries from the profane, which are only intended for the wise. I will tarry no longer on this point, and I will tell you nothing more of what relates to the projection of the medicine, because the success you expect depends not thereon. I have not given you very full instructions except in the third key, because it contains a long train of operations which, though simple and natural, require a great understanding of the laws of nature and of the qualities of our matter, as well as the perfect knowledge of chemistry and the different degrees of heat which are fitting for these operations. I have conducted you by a straight way without any winding, and if you are well-minded, the road which I have pointed out to you, I am sure that you will go straight to the end without straying. Take this in good part from me. The design which I had of sparing you 1,000 labors and 1,000 troubles, which I myself have undergone in this painful journey, for I want an assistance for such as this, which I give you from a sincere heart and a tender affection of all true sons of science. I should much bewail if, like me, after having known the true matter, you should spend 15 years entirely in the work, in study, and in meditation. He forgot the praying part. Remember the beginning? He forgot to mention the praying part. Without being able to extract of the stone the precious juice which is enclosed in its bosom. For I want to know the secret fire of the wise, which makes to run out of this plant a water which wets not the hands, and which by a magical union of the dry water of the sea of the wise is dissolved into viscous water, into a mercurial liquor, which is the beginning, the foundation, and the key of our art. Convert, separate, and purify elements as I have taught you, and you will possess a true mercury of the philosophers, which I give you to the fixed sulfur. in the universal medicine, but I give you notice, moreover, that even after you shall be arrived at the knowledge of the secret fire of the wise, you will still you shall not attain your point at your first career. I have erred many times in the way which remains to be gone to arrive to a mysterious fountain where the king bathes himself and is made young again, and he retakes a new life, exempt from all sorts of infirmities. Besides this, you shall know how to purify, heal, how to animate the royal bath. It is to lend a hand to this secret way that I have expatiated under the third key, where all those operations are described. I wish with all my heart that the instructions which I have given to you may enable you to go directly to the end. But remember, ye sons of philosophy, that the knowledge of our majesty comes rather by the inspiration of heaven than from the lights we can get by ourselves. The truth is acknowledged by all artists. It is for good reason that it is not enough to work, pray daily, read good books, and meditate night and day on the operations of its nature, and on what she may be able to do when she is assisted by the help of our art, and by these means you will succeed without doubt in your undertaking. This is all I have now to say to you. I was not willing to make you such a long discourse as the matter seemed to demand, neither have I told you anything that what is essential to our art, so that if you know the stone, which is the only matter of our stone, and you have an understanding of our fire, which is both secret and natural, you have the keys of the art. You can calcine our stone, not by common calcination, which is made by the violence of fire, but the philosophic calcination, which is purely natural. Yet observe this with the most enlightened philosophers. There is the difference. The common calcination, which is made by the force of the fire, and the natural calcination, which the first destroys the body and consumes the great part of its radical humidity. But the second does not only preserve the humidity of the body by calcinating it, but still considerably augments the experience, will give you knowledge in the practice of this great truth. For you will, in effect, find that this philosophical calcination, which sublimes and distills the stone, and calcinating it much augments its humidity. The reason is the ingenious spirit of the natural fire is corpified, made corporeal. Remember, this fire is made corporeal in the substance which are analogous to it. The stone is an astral fire which sympathizes with the natural fire, and which is the true salamander receives its nativity. It is nourished and grows in the elementary fire, which is geometrically proportioned to it. I'm John, and this has been the Advertise.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Send an email or visit us on social media to let us know what you think about this topic. And please remember to leave a 5-star rate and review.
Hey, did you learn something? Did you laugh? Supporting me is a way for you to be a part of the Advertise and ensure its growth and sustainability. It also means I can create a normal schedule for shows and bonus shows, as well as the exclusive Fellowcraft episodes. By supporting the show, you are not only a listener, but you are a part of the show. You supporting the show gives me a way to offer fun rewards as a thank you for showing your appreciation and support for our projects. Do you have an idea for a reward that you don't see? Let me know. My supporters are my partners. I currently pay for you to listen to the Abercast. Not only do I pay the hosting bills out of my own pocket, I volunteer my time and talent to each and every episode of the Abercast. The price of books, the time and resources of reading and researching, the massive amounts of gin and tonic needed, the equipment it takes to record the shows, the time and resources it takes to create the bonus material, and the cost to maintain the internet presence. Is it worth your support? I don't know. I'm proud of the Abercast, and I feel like I'm improving all the time. In addition to creating the show that you dig and that you are excited about, I also have a full-time commitment and other obligations. So why financial support? All of the supporters help me focus my time on the quality and development of the podcast. And what if you can't afford, $1 or $3 or $10 or whatever a month? Believe me, I get that. There are many degrees of support, but if you can't support the show financially, please consider leaving a 5-star rate and review on your preferred podcast app. And don't forget that you could sign into the mailing list and still unlock a lot of bonus content. Thank you. I cannot put into words how much it means to me that you listen to the show each time I post a new episode. Your feedback, support, and love of the stories that we talk about here is what keeps me going.